Hi there, welcome to my channel. Today what we're going to do is kind of like a knitting experiment of sorts. We're just going to create some, or should I say we're going to be using the E-wrap cast on method as to create a surface effect and just to see how it looks. I'm working on a Knitmaster 321, so let's see how it comes out. I'm basically doing a E-wrap cast on to begin with, and you do a number of rows. I usually do about 4 rows or even extra rows, just depending on what I want to do. I have increased the stitch length to 10, and the reason being for this is that I was supposed to use a much thinner yarn, but basically what I wanted to do was just not use any other yarn and just use what I had, and so I made the stitch length much bigger, so you have these bigger loops you can work with. Here I'm just choosing some needles at random, every third needle, just bringing them into holding position, and this is basically what I'm going to do to start off my E-wrap cast on, or should I say E-wrap effect on the fabric. Here I am using an E-wrap cast on between the gaps of the needles, and it's a much thicker yarn. I think this is an Aran yarn that I found. I just wanted to see the difference in color and just to test what it would look like, and it was really quite easy to do. This is me just coming back on the same holding stitches, just doing the opposite side of the E-wrap so that I could create a surface effect, and just to see what it looked like on the same needles. This video is much longer than I thought. It was basically just to do an experiment and just to see how fast it would go. Some people are much faster with this method than I am, and I suppose if you work with it a lot, you'll get much faster. I did find that when I was working with some of the rows, if the fabric was a little bit too thick, then the machine didn't want to knit over it. It can be because it's a little bit too bulky, or because the texture can snag quite easily. So you just got to experiment and just see if something will work or not. Here I'm using a much wider cap. I think it's 4 needles in between, and seeing what that looked like. It doesn't matter the measurement, it's just basically what you want to try and do and see what it looks like. Here I'm trying 3 needles together as part of the E-wrap, just to see what that would also look like. I just found this really fun to do. It was just really easy, and I can see the potential just to make a really elaborate kind of surface effect that could really make a very interesting garment. Always make sure your latches are open so that it makes it easier. I found that if some of the latches weren't on, it would sometimes just catch a little bit. Here I'm using a method of where I've created my own ribbon. I didn't have any white ribbon that I could use, so I thought, well, I'll make my own ribbon. So basically I knitted up some ribbon by just using it by four needles, and then I just knitted it down using another machine that I have, and just because it was quite thick. I think this was an Aran knit, if I can remember right, and basically I just wanted to create my own ribbon, and I found that quite easy to do. And also when I attached the knitted ribbon onto the actual fabric, it actually worked really well, and it was quite easy to do. So I would say experiment with any kind of material, even if you can make your own material. As to making your own ribbon, you can also make your own ribbon on the actual machine you're using, on the Knitmaster 321. And what you do is you can get an alternative color and just make your own ribbon. The ribbon doesn't have any particular width. I mean, it can be 10 needles wide, or it can be 3 needles wide, and you can just use it that way. You can also do a kind of ribbon that's maybe about 2 or 3 needles wide, and you can use that possibly to actually basically weave into the actual the style of that you want to do. And it's just, like I say, a case of experimenting and just seeing where it can go. I've done a very basic form of this method. I didn't want it to be too complicated. I just wanted you to see something really simple without having to really look into it too deep. It's just a case of trying something on what your machine can do. Most machines can do this. Even the most basic of machines, you could probably be able to do this quite easily. And it's just a case of trial and error. The other thing is you can use any color, you can use any kind of yarn, you can use ribbons and fabric bits and all. Just this, and there isn't anything you can't use. The other thing you can do is also cut fabric squares and use the corners to make a hole in them, and you can incorporate that onto the needles. It just really doesn't matter. It's a very simple method. It's a really nice method to use to experiment with, and who knows what you could create with this method. Here I'm selecting needles for the next row. This is where I'm going to experiment a bit more. And this is where I'm going to take the kind of ribbon that I've made, and I'm going to be putting this onto the actual needles to create the next kind of decorative method. I pull the needles slightly back so that when I do this method it can hook onto it a little bit easier. And this is just a case. I've basically taken one side of the knitted ribbon, and I'm just basically going to work about 4 rows in between so I can get the second row of the ribbon to be put on. So basically you put the knit side to basically the purl side, and when you do this, and you'll be working on the purl side with the ribbon as well. But when you've done your 4 rows, you basically rehook the ribbon up, and it will show the knit side when you're finished with it. If the ribbon is wider that you've made, you just need to determine how many rows you need to do between the ribbon bits. It's just a case of experimentation. Here I do about 4 rows, and then when you've done the 4 rows you just move up the ribbon to you take the edge of that ribbon again, and then you pull it up onto the knit, and that basically just creates a kind of surface effect on the actual purl side. And you can do, like I say, a lot of other materials you can use. You could probably use fabric that's got holes in it, and you can turn them up. You just got to determine how many rows in between the ribbon, so to give it a more of a flat kind of surface, and that's how you just experiment with. When you are making a specific sample, just count the rows and make a note of what you want to do, so that if you do create a garment or a jumper or something with this method, what you can do is just to make sure that the front and backs and the sleeves correspond with the actual pattern that you created. Here I am basically finishing it off, and I'm bringing some needles into non-working position, or basically the same needles that the needles were hooked on. I've pushed them into where the holding position is, and but I will be knitting them in so that it just doesn't fall off the hook. This, like I have said, this is quite experimental. It's just to test something to see how it can work on the E-wrap. I added something to it as well. With the ribbon, you could possibly create different, you could probably even do letters, alphabetical letters. There's so much you can do. This is what the other side looks like. It just looks like ordinary knitting, but you can see where it's caught into the actual fabric, and it seems quite secure. I didn't see a lot of holes in it, so that seemed to be alright. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was of interest, and as you can see, the texture is really interesting on the front, and you could do this quite easily and create a garment of your choice. This is me finishing off, and I do hope you liked this video, and I will be looking at the next video to see what it looked like. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment.